That's right, we're here in Taupo this morning in town. I'm going to take you for a walk along and look at some plantings that they have around this relatively new area that they've done up, and there's some fantastic examples of grasses and other native plants. So the idea of showing you these public gardens that they've recently done is to just demonstrate some of the good ideas that you see in big public spaces, and focusing on plants for this particular one today. And just to show you and inspire you and give you ideas that you can create some of these sort of big majestic public spaces on a smaller scale in your own property. So let's go and have a look and see what we can come across and what ideas I could maybe help you glean from them with the plantings they've used and around Taupo here. Changed from roading into a large pedestrian area with one little lane for cars to come through. And they've got that sculpture centrepiece there. But they've got some really good plantings here, so I'll give you some examples of different plants. This is a flax, and it looks like it's the smaller one, so it's Phormium cookianum, which only gets roughly a metre high over 10 years, might be a wee bit more, but higher with the flower heads when they appear. And then here we've got Tanekaha, which is like a small toy. Got those seed heads on them. Flowers, then seeds, I should say. Beautiful day here in Taupo today. Nice and calm. You can see I'm dressed up. It was -4 this morning. It's probably about -2 or 3 still now. And you can see behind me here, this little island is for the one-hole golf challenge that they have just along the road here. You can see the different colours and textures there of leaves. And then they've got some really good flowering Kowhais here, Sophora, which they seem fairly early. Ours at home are nowhere near flowering yet. Not till about October, so I'm not quite sure why, because we're only on the other side of the lake, not even as far as those mountains. So I've got some Coprosma growing here. It could be red rocks or one of those names. There's one called Bronia as well, which looks similar to that. These are Carex testacea. They give that real orangey, bronzy orange colour, especially in winter. They darken up like a lot of conifer type things do. They get that darker bronzy colour over winter. Very much a tourist town, Taupo. I mean, quite a lot of people live here. We come into town, but we're not actually in Taupo, but we are locals. Just passed a guy who was taking a phone call. He may well be a local, but he had his phone on speakerphone and someone was singing out happy birthday to him, so kind of left him to have his happy birthday. He's got a good day for it. So that's a Carex as well. It's like a frosted curls, possibly. Coprosmas, Kowhai. See, this one's got flower buds but no flowers just yet. And that one next to it has. These are Libertias here, a little bit more of a leaf on them, a wider sort of a leaf. They have little star-shaped flowers come up. New Zealand Iris they're called. Yeah, good mixture of colours and shapes through there. Yeah, they've got some good open spaces with good plantings and good texture and colours. They show up really well. Most of them will have seed heads, flower heads, and seed heads will come up, the flaxes, the grasses, those miniature toy, and they just give an extra movement in the wind and extra colour and texture. So you could do any of these sort of plantings at home. They don't have to be on this scale. See how they look good with the lawns and amongst them as well, but as long as you can cover a bit of space, probably a good 2 metres square, and do a sort of a patchwork, 2 metres square per plant variety, that is, just to give it a good impact. You don't just want one plant, they don't show up individually. You need small groupings next to each other. One of the plantings I was wanting to show you was the Oioi grass here, Apodismia similis. You could use that and some of these other tall grasses and the flaxes, but especially this is showing up really well as a hedge. Instead of using a classic sort of a shrub with leaves, you could use something along these lines. They've got them contained in an area because they do clump and spread. They do like the damp, and they're up at least 1 metre high, but they make a good border and they'll move around in the wind a little, and they've got quite good colour. You can see the joints in the stems, and even from a distance, although you can't see the individual joins, you can sort of see texture and different colours. I'll try and find some that are going up right. There we are. So there are little lines that you en masse start to show up a little. It's the roundabout in the middle of the road over there with a small toy, the Tanekaha, the trout, of course famous for trout fishing in the Taupo region. This garden has got quite a decent size Tanekaha tree, Phylloladus trichomanoides they're called, celery pine. Whoops, walked backwards into a post. And then it's flanked with plants around the base. There's Astelia, chathamica, real silvery leaves, especially on the back of the leaves they're silver. Pittosporum eugenoides, or Lemonwood, and then they've got Corokia, and then they've got another early flowering Kowhai, which is a Sophora. It's dragon's gold, I would say. This one, they grow a bit smaller and they're an early flower, and they sort of tend to grow in that sort of a shape, more like a bush. And then also up above them, got some fairly large cabbage trees, Cordylines. That's got quite a mixture going on in that garden. A few rocks and grasses as well. A couple of hebes there.